We've always been told that empathy is the highest form of human connection, the ultimate sign of emotional intelligence and compassion. But what if that very gift, the thing we celebrate as kindness, could quietly turn against us? What if empathy, your greatest strength, could also be your blind spot? I used to think my empathy was a superpower. I thought understanding people meant helping them, until I realized, sometimes, my good intentions did more harm than good. Because when you feel too much, when you absorb everyone else's pain, you stop seeing clearly. You stop helping and start hurting. In this video, we're peeling back the comforting myth that empathy is always good. We'll explore its dark side, how over-identifying with others can fuel burnout, manipulation, guilt, and even moral blindness. This isn't just about toxic positivity or emotional overload. It's about seeing empathy for what it really is. A powerful force that can both heal and destroy, depending on how we use it. So get ready to question everything you thought you knew about compassion, kindness, and what it truly means to care. We all want to believe that empathy makes us better people, that by feeling someone else's pain, we can somehow make it go away. It feels noble, selfless, even heroic. But what if that instinct to help is actually part of the problem? Empathy has a universal appeal. It's comforting to think that understanding someone means you're helping them. Yet here's the twist. Sometimes, empathy doesn't heal. It enables. Think about the friend who constantly rescues someone struggling with addiction, believing they're being supportive, while actually protecting that person from facing the real consequences of their choices. Or the parent who steps in at every sign of struggle, wrapping their child in endless comfort until the child forgets how to stand on their own. We call it love. We call it care. But sometimes, what looks like kindness is really control dressed as compassion. In our rush to help, we often silence the growth that comes from struggle. And here's where empathy's dark side starts to take shape. Not as cruelty, but as overprotection, guilt, and the quiet arrogance of thinking we know what's best for someone else. So maybe the question isn't, how can I help? But rather, why do I need to? Because when good intentions turn into a need to rescue, empathy can become a trap, one that keeps both people stuck. Empathy can feel like the highest virtue, the ability to feel for someone, to step into their world and understand their pain. But here's the paradox. When empathy loses its balance, it stops empowering people and starts protecting them from reality. Psychologists call this enabling empathy, when our compassion shields others from the discomfort they need in order to grow. And it's more common than we think. Take the overprotective friend who constantly smooths over the consequences of someone's bad decisions, thinking they're being loyal. Or the parent who solves every little problem before their child even tries, believing they're saving them from suffering, when in truth, they're stealing the child's chance to build resilience. Or the well-meaning manager who keeps covering for an underperforming employee, convinced they're being kind, while slowly eroding the team's trust and productivity. Empathy, in these moments, becomes a soft kind of sabotage. It feels warm, it feels right, but it quietly robs others of the strength that only struggle can forge. And that's the subtle, painful line. The moment empathy shifts from support to interference. True empathy doesn't mean carrying someone's burden for them. It means walking beside them while they learn to carry it themselves. Because when empathy becomes enabling, we stop being allies in someone's growth and start becoming obstacles to it. Empathy connects us, but it also exposes us. When you feel deeply, you don't just understand someone's pain, you start to carry it. And over time, that emotional weight can become unbearable. Psychologists call this emotional contagion, the invisible transfer of feelings from one person to another. It's what happens when you walk into a room heavy with tension and suddenly feel anxious yourself, or when a loved one's sadness slowly becomes your own. At first, it feels like compassion, but soon it turns into exhaustion. Burnout, disguised as caring. And when empathy becomes over-identification, our judgment starts to blur. We can lose the ability to tell where their suffering ends and ours begins. In that fog, we start to mirror the very emotions we're trying to heal. This is where the savior complex often takes root. The belief that we can rescue others from their pain if we just try hard enough, feel deeply enough, love intensely enough. But the truth is, the more we try to save someone, the more we drown alongside them. Real empathy isn't about emotional absorption. It's about emotional boundaries. Because boundaries don't make us cold or uncaring. They keep our compassion sustainable. Without them, empathy collapses under its own weight, leaving behind only fatigue, resentment, and guilt. If empathy is light, boundaries are the lens that focuses it, turning scattered emotion into real understanding and meaningful action. So, if empathy can harm as much as it helps, what does true empathy actually look like? It's not about absorbing someone's pain. It's about understanding it without losing yourself in it. It's the balance between heart and mind, between compassion and clarity. True empathy empowers. It doesn't rescue. It recognizes. It says, "I see your pain, but I trust your strength." Because real understanding isn't about taking over someone's story. It's about giving them space to rewrite it themselves. Here's where critical thinking meets emotional intelligence. Before jumping into help, ask, am I doing this to relieve their suffering, or my discomfort with their suffering? That single question can transform empathy from impulse into wisdom. To practice genuine, sustainable empathy, listen more than you advise. Offer presence instead of solutions. Set boundaries, not as walls, but as guardrails for care. And stay aware of your motives, because awareness turns emotion into conscious action. Empathy isn't weakness. It's not blind compassion. It's a skill. One that, when guided by self-awareness and wisdom, becomes the foundation of every healthy relationship, every meaningful act of kindness, and every step towards collective healing. So as we move forward, let's not reject empathy. Let's refine it. Because only when empathy is rooted in truth can it truly serve both others and ourselves. If this video made you rethink how you approach empathy, take a moment to reflect. Comment below your own experiences. Have you ever realized your kindness unintentionally caused harm? Like this video if you're ready to practice conscious empathy in your life. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights into psychology, human behavior, and emotional intelligence. Remember, understanding yourself is the first step toward truly understanding others. Start today and share this journey with someone who needs it.